The twin suns of Valaris shone brightly across the silver domes of the royal capital. Crowds filled the shining streets as banners fluttered in the soft breeze. It was the Day of Alliance, the celebration of peace between the alien kingdom of Valaris and the small blue planet called Earth. Among the human delegation stood a soldier named Ryan. He was not a diplomat or a noble. He was a security officer assigned to protect the human envoy during their visit to the royal palace. Ryan had trained for years to serve as a peacekeeper between worlds. He respected the alien culture and followed their customs carefully. Yet even as the trumpet sounded, he could sense tension in the air. The alien guards seemed uneasy. Their large golden eyes kept scanning the crowd. Ryan's instincts, sharpened from his time in service, whispered that something was wrong. Inside the palace, the alien Queen Selira welcomed guests from dozens of worlds. Her voice was calm and graceful, her silver gown flowing like liquid light. Beside her stood her husband, the king, and their 2 children, young heirs with curious eyes. The hall was filled with light, laughter, and the scent of exotic flowers. But Ryan's focus never shifted from his surroundings. He noticed small details that others ignored. A guard's hand trembling near a weapon, a shadow that lingered too long behind a column. The moment came without warning. A deep sound echoed through the hall, followed by a flash of light. The windows shattered. The ground trembled. The laughter turned into screams. Ryan reacted before thought. He grabbed the nearest guard and pushed him aside as an explosion tore through the entrance. Smoke filled the grand hall. Alien nobles ran for cover, their elegant robes stained with dust. From the broken arches, armed figures stormed in. Their armor was dark, their faces covered by masks. They moved fast and precise. The Queen's guards raised their weapons, but panic spread as blasts of red energy filled the room. Ryan's training took over. He scanned the chaos, spotted the royal family through the smoke, and sprinted toward them. The king tried to shield his children while the Queen was pulled away by guards. Ryan reached them and shouted for them to stay low. A blast struck nearby, shaking the floor. The king stumbled, clutching his side. Ryan caught him before he fell. "Your Majesty, we have to move," Ryan said firmly. The Queen hesitated, torn between staying and running. "Where?" she asked, her voice shaking. "There's a service corridor behind the throne," Ryan replied. He had memorized the palace layout during security drills. "It leads to the underground tunnels. We can get you out." The Queen nodded and motioned to her children. Ryan lifted the young prince in his arms while the princess clung to her mother. The guards followed, but several were already injured. Ryan led the group through the smoke, firing short bursts from his human sidearm at the advancing rebels. The weapon hummed softly, its blue light cutting through the haze. They reached the corridor. Ryan sealed the heavy door behind them and turned to the Queen. Her face was pale, her silver crown tilted from the blast. "Stay close to me," he said. "I'll get you to safety." The group moved through the narrow hall. The walls glowed faintly with emergency lights. Behind them, muffled explosions shook the palace. The prince trembled in Ryan's arms. Ryan whispered words of comfort, trying to calm the frightened child. The corridor led them to the lower levels. Ryan scanned each intersection, using his small wrist scanner to check for hostiles. He was trained to keep emotions aside, but seeing the Queen struggle to carry her daughter while holding back tears struck something deep inside him. At one junction, they heard voices ahead. Ryan raised his hand to stop the group. 3 rebels were guarding the tunnel exit. He signaled the guards to stay back. Quietly, he removed a small flash grenade from his belt and rolled it down the passage. The bright flash blinded the rebels long enough for Ryan to rush forward. With swift, practiced movements, he disarmed them and used non-lethal strikes to knock them down. The alien guards stared at him in disbelief. One of them, a tall soldier named Kale, spoke with awe. "You fight like 10 men." Ryan did not respond. He helped the Queen and her family through the exit before sealing the hatch again. The group emerged into a dark maintenance bay filled with vehicles. Ryan looked up. Through the open skylight, smoke was rising from the palace towers. "Where is the nearest safe zone?" he asked Kale. "The royal bunker in the lower city," Kale replied. "But the rebels control the main roads." Ryan thought for a moment. "Then we go underground." The Queen's eyes widened. "The undercity tunnels?" "Yes," Ryan said. "They're not mapped on the public network. We can use them to reach the bunker unseen." The Queen hesitated but finally nodded. She trusted him now. This human, once considered only a guest, had taken command where others froze. They entered the tunnels beneath the city. The air was damp and the sound of distant machinery echoed through the dark. Ryan kept his weapon ready, moving quietly while guiding the Queen and her children. At times he stopped to listen. His sharp hearing caught faint footsteps or the hum of enemy scanners. He adjusted their path, avoiding patrols with quick decisions that saved them again and again. After an hour of tense travel, they reached a wide chamber where the tunnel split in 3 directions. Ryan ordered a short rest. He knelt beside the Queen. "How is your son?" She looked at the boy who had fallen asleep against her arm. "He's strong," she said softly. Then she looked at Ryan. "You saved us. You could have escaped with your people, but you stayed." Ryan shook his head. "I'm a soldier. Protecting lives is my duty." The Queen studied him. "Your kind was once called reckless and violent. Yet today you risked everything for strangers." Ryan smiled faintly. "Sometimes strangers just need someone to stand with them." Before the Queen could answer, Cale returned from scouting the side tunnel. "Enemies ahead," he said. "They have scanners blocking the main route," Ryan thought quickly. "Then we go through the old waste tunnels. They connect to the lower city near the bunker." "It's dangerous," Cale warned. "It's our only chance," Ryan replied. They pressed on through narrow, rusted passages. The air grew thicker, and the walls dripped with moisture. At one turn, a hidden motion trap triggered, sending a warning beep through the air. Ryan reacted instantly, pushing the Queen and her children against the wall just before an energy bolt shot past where they had stood. "Stay behind me," he said calmly. The Queen's hands trembled, but she obeyed. She began to realize that this human's calmness in danger was not coldness, it was focus. He moved with purpose, scanning every step before advancing. After several more close calls, they reached a service ladder leading up to a hidden exit. Ryan climbed first and checked the surface. Above was the lower city, dimly lit under a red sky filled with smoke. He signaled for the others to follow. The moment they stepped out, a group of rebels spotted them. Energy bolts struck the walls nearby. Ryan took cover behind a vehicle and returned controlled fire. The alien guards joined him, taking orders without hesitation. Ryan directed them with short commands, covering each other as they advanced toward the bunker's gate. The Queen shielded her children, praying silently as blasts echoed around them. Ryan's movements were precise and measured. He covered their retreat, moving only when they were safe. One rebel tried to flank from the side, but Ryan spotted him and used a quick throw of a flash pellet to force a retreat. When they finally reached the bunker entrance, the heavy doors opened to reveal loyal soldiers inside. They rushed out to escort the royal family. Ryan stayed behind until the last guard entered. He then stepped inside and sealed the doors. Inside the bunker, medical staff hurried to tend to the royal family. Ryan sat down against a wall, exhaustion finally catching up. His armor was scorched, his arms bruised, but he showed no pain. The Queen approached him slowly. "You saved us," she said quietly. "My family and I owe you our lives." Ryan stood and bowed slightly. "I just did what anyone should do." She looked at him for a long moment. "No, not anyone. Many of my own guards fled. But you, a human far from your home, stood your ground." Ryan said nothing. He only looked around at the frightened children and the damaged city map glowing on the wall. "We'll need to prepare," he said at last. "They won't stop here," the Queen nodded. "Then we will face them together." Outside, the night of Valaris burned with rebellion, but deep in the bunker a new trust had been born. A single act of courage had begun to change the way an entire world saw humanity. The bunker was silent except for the hum of the generators. Thick walls of silver alloy surrounded the royal family and their guards. The air smelled faintly of burnt metal and smoke drifting in through the vents. Ryan stood near the entrance, still in his scorched armor, scanning the small monitor that showed the city above. Fires burned across the capital. The Queen stood nearby, holding her son's hand, her face calm but her eyes full of worry. Ryan had seen fear in battle before, but what he saw in her was something different. It was the quiet strength of someone trying to stay composed for the sake of others. She had lost many loyal guards, and her people were in chaos, yet she refused to break. The bunker lights flickered. Ryan turned to the Queen. "We cannot stay here long. They will track us." Cale, the alien guard, nodded. "Our scanners show movement in the streets. The rebels are searching for survivors." The Queen looked at both men. "Then we must reach the lower safe zone. That is where the loyal soldiers are gathering, Ryan agreed. We move at first light. Through the night, Ryan worked with Kale to strengthen defenses and plan escape routes. He studied the alien map on the wall and marked paths that avoided open streets. The guards followed his orders without question now. They saw what he had done at the palace. The Queen noticed their change in tone whenever Ryan spoke. At dawn, they prepared to move. Ryan helped the children put on small energy shields designed for protection. The young prince looked up at him. "Are you scared?" he asked in a quiet voice. Ryan smiled. "A little. That's how you know you are alive. Being brave is not about having no fear. It is about walking through it." The boy nodded slowly as if the words were heavy and true. The Queen watched from a distance. The human had a strange way of speaking, simple, honest, and strong. They left the bunker through an underground exit. The tunnels stretched for miles under the capital. As they walked, Ryan moved in front, holding a small scanner that mapped movement ahead. Occasionally, faint echoes reached them, the sound of boots, voices, and machines. Halfway through the tunnel, Kyle stopped suddenly. Movement ahead. Too many signals. Ryan motioned for silence. He crouched and peeked through a small crack in the metal wall. Dozens of armed rebels waited near the next junction. They had scanners and drones hovering above them. The Queen's group could not turn back. The only way was forward. Ryan turned to the Queen. "We will have to pass through them. Stay behind this section of wall. When I signal, move fast to the side tunnel." The Queen looked uncertain. "You cannot face them alone." Ryan shook his head. "I can hold them long enough for you to reach the next corridor." She wanted to argue, but his steady eyes stopped her. There was no pride or recklessness in his tone, only calm determination. Ryan moved quietly to the junction, taking cover behind fallen debris. The rebels spoke in harsh whispers, unaware he was so close. When one of them stepped forward, Ryan activated a small pulse emitter. The device flashed once, sending out a wave that shorted their drones. The corridor went dark. The rebels shouted in confusion. Ryan used the moment to strike. He used flash pellets to blind them, then pushed fallen crates to block their line of sight. The sounds of struggle filled the air. The Queen's guards used the distraction to guide her and the children through the side passage. Blasts of red light illuminated the smoke-filled tunnel. Ryan fought only to defend and delay. He used non-lethal shock bursts to disable those who came too close. His focus was not on victory but on time. Each second counted. When he finally retreated into the side tunnel, his armor was scorched again. He sealed the door behind him and leaned against the wall, breathing heavily. The Queen's daughter ran to him and held his hand without saying a word. The Queen watched this in silence, her heart heavy. Later, as they rested in a hidden chamber, Kale checked Ryan's wounds. "You should rest. You lost much energy." "I will rest when they are safe," Ryan said. The Queen approached, her voice soft. "You risk yourself again and again." "Why?" Ryan looked at her. "Because life matters. Because no one else should die if I can stop it." Her expression softened. "You speak as if you have seen too much death." "I have seen enough to know that peace is never free," he said. They continued their journey through the tunnels until they reached the old transport station. The massive space was filled with abandoned vehicles. The Queen's youngest child pointed at the sunlight streaming through a crack in the ceiling. For the first time since the attack, she smiled. Ryan walked ahead to scout the area. Suddenly, a sharp sound echoed, a drone's whine. He froze. 3 enemy scouts entered through a broken gate. They had found the trail. Ryan signaled for silence, but the Queen's son stepped on a loose metal plate. The noise gave them away. The drones turned toward the sound. Alarms blared. "Down," Ryan said sharply. He pulled the boy close and activated his shield. Energy bolts struck the ground near them. The Queen shouted for her children to stay low as the guards opened fire. Ryan ran to the control console and reactivated the old transport system. The floor began to shake as the doors of an old tram opened. "Get in," he shouted. Kyle guided the royal family inside. Ryan covered the rear, blocking incoming fire. The tram started moving just as more rebels entered the station. A bolt struck Ryan's shoulder, forcing him to stumble. He gritted his teeth, holding the controls steady until the doors closed. Inside the tram, the Queen knelt beside him. "You are hurt." "It's nothing," he said. "Just a burn." She tore a strip from her robe and pressed it against the wound. "You saved my children again. You should not have to stand in front of every danger." Ryan looked at her with calm eyes. "It is what I do best." The tram sped through the tunnels, lights flashing past the windows. The Queen's daughter sat beside Ryan, holding his uninjured hand. When they finally stopped at the lower safe zone, loyal soldiers surrounded them, cheering as they saw their queen alive. They led the royal family to a secured chamber. Ryan stayed behind with Kale to check defenses. The Queen sent her children with attendants and returned to him. "You are not like the others," she said softly. "When our worlds made this alliance, I believed humans were selfish and reckless. Yet you risked everything for a people not your own." Ryan smiled faintly. "Maybe your people just needed to see a different side of us." Before she could reply, an explosion rocked the base. Dust fell from the ceiling. The guards shouted reports. "They found us again." Ryan turned toward the noise. "Get the Queen to safety," she refused. "Not without you." The next wave of rebels broke through the lower entrance. Ryan took position at the front line. The guards followed his lead once more. Under his direction, they used the narrow corridors to their advantage, forcing the attackers into single-file combat. The fight lasted long minutes. Smoke filled the halls and energy bolts sparked off the walls. Ryan held the line, shielding the royal guards and drawing fire away from them. The Queen, watching from behind cover, felt a mix of awe and sorrow. When the last attacker fell unconscious, silence returned. The guards cheered softly. Ryan staggered slightly, his arm still bleeding. The Queen approached him. "You saved us again, even after being hurt. You are not just a soldier, Ryan. You are something more." He shook his head. "I am just human." She looked into his eyes and said quietly, "Then humanity has given the galaxy something rare." Ryan tried to reply but lost his balance. The Queen caught him before he hit the ground. "Call the healers," she ordered. Kale rushed to get medical help. The Queen stayed beside Ryan as he drifted into unconsciousness. She looked at his face, calm even in pain. "You will live," she whispered. "You must live. Valaris still needs you." Outside, the storm of rebellion raged across the city. Inside the bunker, a silent bond grew stronger, between a human who gave everything for duty and a queen who began to see hope in him. When Ryan opened his eyes, the ceiling above him glowed with soft blue light. He blinked a few times, trying to remember where he was. His body felt heavy and a faint hum surrounded him. The walls of the chamber curved smoothly, filled with streams of golden energy. It was the royal healing chamber of Valaris, a place where only the highest nobles were allowed to rest. He tried to sit up, but a calm voice stopped him. "Do not move too fast. Your wounds are still closing." Ryan turned his head. Queen Celera stood near the chamber's edge, dressed in a plain robe, her crown missing. Her calm face looked different now, tired but gentle. She had stayed by his side while he slept. Ryan frowned slightly. "Your Majesty, I should not be here. The chamber is meant for your kind." She stepped closer. "You saved my family twice. You have earned more than rest. You have earned our gratitude." He wanted to argue, but her tone left no room for protest. She motioned to the healers, and they slowly removed the silver band around his arm that controlled the medical light. His skin was almost fully healed. Only faint marks remained where the burns had been. The Queen handed him a small glass of water. "Drink. It helps restore your strength." Ryan took it and nodded. "How long was I asleep?" 2 days, she said. During that time, the fighting worsened. Half the city now belongs to the rebels. The council is divided. Some believe we should surrender to stop the bloodshed. Ryan set down the glass carefully. "And you? What do you believe?" "I believe surrender would destroy us," she said firmly. "And I believe the council fears what they do not understand." She looked at him with a thoughtful expression. "Including you." Ryan was silent. He could hear the low hum of machines and faint voices outside the door. The Queen continued. "Word of what you did has spread. The people whisper about the human who saved their queen. Some call you a hero. Others call you a weapon. The council wants to send you back to your ship before your presence causes more division." Ryan shook his head. "I did not mean to cause trouble. I only did my duty." Celera smiled faintly. "You did more than duty. You gave hope when we had none. But the council fears that hope may come from the wrong source." Ryan stood up slowly. His balance steadied as he adjusted to the soft gravity. "Then I should leave. If my presence puts you at risk, I'll go quietly." The Queen's expression hardened. "No, you will not leave. They may see danger in you, but I see strength. Valaris needs that strength now." Her tone carried command. but also something deeper, a quiet conviction that he did not expect. Later that day, the council gathered in the high hall beneath the grand crystal dome. The queen entered with her guards, followed by Ryan and Kale. The alien nobles whispered among themselves when they saw the human walking beside their ruler. The head counselor, a tall alien with silver skin and stern eyes, spoke first. "Your Majesty, this human has broken our laws. He entered sacred chambers and used weapons inside the palace. Such actions cannot be ignored." The queen raised her hand. "He acted to protect us when our own guards fell. Without him, we would not be standing here today." Another counselor leaned forward. "Perhaps. But his presence now divides the people. The rebels use his name as proof that you trust outsiders more than your own kind." Ryan stayed silent. He had faced enemy fire before, but this was a different kind of battle. One fought with words and pride. Salira stepped closer to the center. "Our alliance with Earth was built on trust. If we turn against the one who defended that trust with his life, we destroy the very peace we seek." The head counselor crossed his arms. "Then what do you propose, my queen?" The hall fell silent. The queen looked around slowly, her eyes calm but firm. "I propose that we recognize Ryan not as an outsider, but as a protector of Valeris. From this moment on, he is under royal protection." Gasps filled the hall. The counselors began whispering furiously. One of them stood. "That is not possible. He is human. He cannot belong to the royal house." Salira's voice grew colder. "Then let this be clear to all of you. I have made my decision. The human belongs to us. Any harm to him is harm to the crown." Ryan froze. The words hung in the air like thunder. He understood her intention. It was not possession, but protection. Still, the reaction was instant. The hall erupted in murmurs and disbelief. The queen turned to Ryan. "You will stay here as my advisor in matters of defense. You have seen war in ways we have not. Teach us how to protect our people." Ryan bowed slightly. "If that is your command, I will do my best." That evening, he stood on the balcony overlooking the burning horizon. The city glowed with fires from the distant districts still under siege. Kale joined him. "You have made powerful enemies today," Kale said. Ryan nodded. "So has your queen," Kale sighed. "The council will not forgive her easily, but I have served her long enough to know she will not bend." Ryan looked toward the skyline. "Then I'll make sure she doesn't have to stand alone." For days, Ryan trained the royal guards. He taught them how to move in small units, how to protect civilians, and how to use cover rather than open formations. The alien soldiers struggled at first, unaccustomed to human tactics, but they quickly began to understand. The queen often watched from the balcony above. She admired the precision of his movements and the way he explained every action with patience. The guards began to respect him not as an outsider, but as a leader. At night, reports poured in. Victories in small skirmishes thanks to his plans. The morale of loyal forces rose. Yet the council grew angrier. They met in secret chambers, plotting their next move. One evening, Salira visited the training grounds. The air was cool, and the stars reflected on the polished floors. She found Ryan sitting alone beside a table of holographic maps. "You have given my people something rare," she said softly. Confidence. Ryan looked up. They already had it. They just needed to remember. The queen sat across from him. "You speak as if you understand us better than we understand ourselves." Ryan shook his head. "I only know what fear does to people. It makes them forget who they are. You reminded them first, not me." She smiled faintly. "Then we both did our part." Their quiet moment was interrupted by Kyle rushing in. "Your Majesty, Councillor Varys has called for an emergency session. He says it concerns the safety of the throne." The queen stood. "Then we go." In the council chamber, Varys stood at the center with a group of guards. His tone was sharp. "Your Majesty, your attachment to the human has brought unrest. Loyal officers are resigning. Cities are questioning your leadership. This must end now." The queen's eyes narrowed. "What are you suggesting?" "Send him back to Earth," Varys said coldly. "Or you risk losing the crown." The hall grew tense. Ryan stepped forward. "If my presence endangers the queen, I will leave." But before he could finish, the queen raised her hand. "No, you will stay. If the council believes they can threaten me by using his name, let them learn how wrong they are." Her voice echoed with quiet strength. "Valeris will stand with those who protect it no matter where they are born." Varys glared at her. "Then you are a fool." Kyle moved quickly, drawing his weapon halfway, but the queen lifted a hand to stop him. Leave, counselor. You forget your place. Varys bowed stiffly, but his eyes burned with anger. You will regret this, my queen. He turned and left. Ryan watched him go, knowing trouble would come soon. When the chamber emptied, he turned to Selira. You should have let me go. I do not abandon those who save my life, she said simply. Velaris must learn that trust is not weakness. Ryan hesitated, then nodded. Then we face what comes together. As the night deepened, alarms echoed across the palace. Cale rushed back with grim news. The outer gates have been breached. The rebels are moving toward the throne district, and someone inside the council has helped them. The queen turned to Ryan. It begins again. He checked his gear, reloaded his weapon, and looked at her steadily. Then we end it this time. Outside, the city burned brighter than ever. The council's betrayal had begun, but the human and the queen stood side by side, ready to defend not just a throne, but the fragile bond that had become the heart of Velaris' survival. The palace shook as alarms rang across every hall. Guards rushed through corridors while the lights shifted to red alert. The queen stood in her royal chamber watching the city map on the large holographic table. Red dots spread through the capital, showing rebel forces closing in. Cale hurried to her side. The council's loyalists are turning on each other. Some are protecting us, but others are helping the rebels enter the inner walls. The queen took a steady breath. Then the rebellion is no longer outside our gates. It has begun within the palace. Ryan entered the room in his repaired armor, his face calm and focused. We still have time to hold them back. If they reach the throne hall, they will declare the monarchy fallen. Selira looked at him. Can we stop them? Ryan studied the map. Yes. If we take control of the inner guard stations, we can block their path. But we'll need coordination, not panic. Cale nodded. The guards trust you now. Give the orders and they will follow. Ryan began assigning positions on the map. We hold the south corridor. It's the only direct path to the throne room. The queen stays in the command chamber with the communication unit. We can direct all loyal forces from here. The queen shook her head. No, I will stand with my people. If I hide, they will lose hope. Ryan looked at her, realizing there was no use arguing. Then you will have to wear armor. Kyle brought a set of light silver battle armor. The queen put it on, her royal insignia shining softly across her chest plate. She looked every bit a ruler ready to defend her crown. The guards gathered in the hall as Ryan addressed them. His voice was calm, clear, and full of purpose. We fight not to destroy, but to protect. We defend our homes, our families, and our queen. Hold the line. Trust your training. Fear belongs to those who attack without honor. The guard stood taller, inspired by his words. When the queen stepped forward beside him, the sight filled them with courage. The human and the queen stood together, a symbol of unity that no rebellion could erase. The first wave of attackers arrived at the outer courtyard. Explosions shook the palace gates. Ryan ordered the shield barriers to rise. Energy walls shimmered to life, holding back the attackers. The queen's forces returned fire in a steady rhythm, defending their ground with precision. From the upper balcony, the queen gave orders through her comlink. Section 3, fall back to Corridor 5. Reinforce the southern gate. Keep civilians out of the crossfire. Ryan fought alongside the guards. His movements were swift, each action measured. He used his training to guide the alien soldiers through human-style coordination, turning small groups into effective defense lines. The battle spread through the palace. Smoke filled the air as energy blasts flashed against metal walls. Cale moved beside Ryan, his uniform torn but his spirit strong. They are pushing harder. The council must have supplied them with weapons from the royal armory. Ryan nodded. That means they're running out of options. Desperate forces fight the loudest before they fall. Amid the fighting, a sudden call came through the comm. They are breaching the west gate, a guard reported. Councillor Varys is leading them himself. The queen's expression hardened. He dares to lead an attack on the crown he once swore to protect. Ryan adjusted his weapon. Then that's where I'm going. Selira stepped forward. Not alone. If Varys falls, the rebellion might break, but I will not let you face him without witness. Ryan hesitated. Your Majesty, it's dangerous. So is freedom, she said quietly. They moved together through the smoky corridors toward the west gate. When they arrived, they saw Varys standing among his soldiers shouting commands. His voice echoed through the hall. Seize the queen. The throne must be restored to the people. She has betrayed Valeris with her human pet. Ryan stepped forward. You call this freedom? You bring war to your own people. Virus turned, his silver eyes flashing with anger. You do not belong here, human. Your kind has infected our world with false courage. Ryan raised his weapon but did not fire. I belong where I am needed. The two forces clashed. The corridor filled with light and sound. Ryan's team advanced while Virus's rebels fell back toward the gate. The Queen stayed behind the shield wall, watching every move. She saw how Ryan placed himself between danger and his allies again and again. When Varys saw his men falter, he shouted, End this now! Bring me the Queen. Two rebels broke through the side path, charging toward Salira. Before Cale could intercept, Ryan leaped forward and blocked the attack. He struck one rebel's weapon away and disarmed the other with a swift move. The Queen's guards closed the gap, capturing them. Varys tried to retreat, but Ryan caught up to him near the gate. They faced each other under the flickering light. Ryan spoke calmly. You had a choice. You chose chaos, Varys sneered. You cannot save her forever. The people will never follow a queen who bows to a human. Ryan shook his head. She bows to no one. That's why they will follow her. Varys reached for his weapon, but before he could fire, Cale's guards surrounded him. The Queen walked forward and stood before the defeated counselor. You spoke of serving the people, yet you destroyed their peace. You will answer for this. The rebel forces saw their leader fall and began to surrender. Ryan lowered his weapon. The fighting slowed, then stopped. Silence returned to the hall, broken only by the sound of footsteps and the hiss of cooling energy weapons. The Queen turned to her soldiers. The rebellion ends today. Let no one harm those who surrender. Valeris will rebuild not with fear, but with unity. Her words spread across the communication lines. Across the city, the remaining rebels began to lay down their weapons. The fire slowly faded as order returned. Later, in the quiet of the throne room, the Queen stood by the great window overlooking the city. The towers glowed faintly under the twin suns. Ryan approached her. His armor was damaged again, but his eyes were steady. The city is secure, he said. The rebels are surrendering across the outer districts. Cale's forces are collecting weapons. Salira turned to face him. And Counselor Varys? He has been taken to the lower cells. He will stand trial before your people. She nodded. It will be a trial for truth, not vengeance. Ryan looked at her with quiet respect. You did what few leaders can. You stayed when others would have fled. She smiled softly. And you stayed when you could have left. Tell me, Ryan, do all humans carry such loyalty? He shook his head. No, but when we give our word, we keep it. The Queen walked to the throne and placed her hand on its armrest. Then Valeris owes its future to that promise. Cale entered, saluting them both. The people are asking to see you, Your Majesty. They want to hear from their queen. Salira nodded. She turned to Ryan. You should stand beside me. You have earned that right. Ryan looked hesitant. I am not one of your people. She met his eyes. You are one of us now. You saved our world not once, but many times. Today Valeris stands because of you. He finally nodded. Together, they walked to the grand balcony where thousands of citizens had gathered below. The Queen raised her hand and the crowd fell silent. My people, she said, her voice clear and strong. Our world has suffered. We have seen betrayal and loss. But we have also seen courage. A courage born not from blood or birthright, but from the heart. She gestured toward Ryan. This human came to us as a stranger. He fought beside us as a brother. And now he stands as one of Valeris. The crowd erupted in cheers. For the first time, humans and aliens shared the same salute. As the sound filled the sky, Ryan looked at the Queen. What now? Salira looked over her city. Now we rebuild, together. High above the capital, the morning light washed away the smoke of war. The rebellion had ended, but something greater had begun. A bond between two worlds forged not by treaties, but by trust and courage. The twin suns of Valeris rose slowly above the horizon, casting golden light across the battered capital. The smoke of battle still hung over the city, but the air carried a sense of calm that had been missing for many days. Streets once filled with panic were now crowded with citizens cleaning debris, repairing walls, and helping each other. The rebellion had ended, but its scars remained deep. Inside the royal palace, the Queen stood on the balcony of the high tower, looking down at her recovering world. Her silver armor was gone, replaced by her royal robe. The crown on her head glowed softly under the morning sun. She watched the people move below and felt a quiet pride. They had survived the storm. Behind her, Ryan entered quietly. His uniform was simple now, his weapon holstered at his side. He looked tired but peaceful. He stopped beside her and admired the view. "The city looks alive again," he said. Celira nodded. "Alive but fragile. We must be careful now. Rebuilding trust is harder than rebuilding walls." Ryan folded his arms. "You've already started that. The people listen to you. They follow because they see your strength." The Queen looked at him with a faint smile. "They follow because they saw what courage truly means. You showed them that." He shook his head slightly. "I only did what I had to." "Sometimes," she replied, "doing what you must is what saves the world." Their moment was interrupted by Kale, who entered with a formal bow. "Your Majesty, the council awaits you in the Great Hall. They have gathered to discuss the next step for the throne." Celira straightened. "Very well. Ryan, will you come with me?" He hesitated. "I am not sure the council wants to see me again." "They will," she said firmly. "They must." The Great Hall was bright and filled with quiet tension. The remaining councillors stood at their places, their faces a mix of relief and caution. The memory of the rebellion still lingered among them. When the Queen entered with Ryan, the hall fell silent. The head councillor spoke first. "Your Majesty, we come before you not to question your rule, but to restore balance after the storm. Velaris stands free again because of your leadership." Celira inclined her head. "Velaris stands because its people chose unity over hate, and because a man from another world risked his life to defend it." All eyes turned toward Ryan. He felt the weight of their stares but remained still. One of the younger councillors stepped forward. "The people already speak of him as the protector of Velaris. They say he should be honored." Another councillor frowned. "He is still human. Our laws do not recognize outsiders as royal protectors." The Queen's tone grew firm. "Then our laws must change. Velaris cannot build a better future while holding to the prejudice that nearly destroyed it." The hall murmured in surprise. The Queen raised her voice slightly. "This man stood against fire and treason. He fought not for power, not for reward, but for life itself. If we cannot honor such a heart, then we do not deserve the peace we now enjoy." The head councillor nodded slowly. "Then let it be written. Ryan of Earth is to be named the royal protector of Velaris under the Queen's decree." The Queen stepped forward and placed a silver medallion on Ryan's chest. The hall filled with the sound of the ceremonial horns. "From this day forth," she said, "you are no longer an outsider. You are a guardian of this world." Ryan bowed slightly. "I accept this honor not for myself, but for the hope that our worlds may walk together as equals." Applause filled the hall, and the air felt lighter than it had in weeks. Later, in the palace courtyard, celebrations began. Children ran through the streets carrying banners of peace. Soldiers stood proudly beside civilians, sharing food and laughter. The royal palace opened its gates for the first time in years, welcoming everyone. Ryan walked among the people, greeting them as they called his name. Many reached out to thank him. He was no longer just a guest or a soldier. He was a symbol. The man who had saved their queen now represented something greater, the bridge between two distant worlds. As night fell, the Queen held a quiet ceremony at the palace garden. Lanterns floated in the air, glowing softly like stars. She stood beside Ryan under the ancient crystal tree that symbolized unity. "When this tree was planted centuries ago," she said, "it was meant to remind us that peace grows from shared roots. It almost died during the war, yet now it blooms again." Ryan looked up at the glowing branches. Maybe it just needed someone to protect it long enough to find the light again. Celira smiled. "You speak like a philosopher, Ryan. Perhaps Earth trains its soldiers better than I thought." He chuckled lightly. "Maybe Earth just teaches us to keep going no matter how dark it gets." They stood quietly for a moment, listening to the soft hum of the city beyond the palace walls. Kale approached and bowed. "Your Majesty, reports from the outer regions confirm the rebels are surrendering. Many have requested pardon in exchange for rebuilding the destroyed sectors." The Queen nodded. "Granted. Let mercy rebuild what hate has broken." Ryan watched her give orders with grace and patience. He understood now why the people loved her. She led not through fear but through faith. When Kale left, the Queen turned back to Ryan. "There's one more thing," she said softly. "Tomorrow the royal ship will depart for the first council meeting with Earth since the attack. The alliance must continue. I would have you come with me. Ryan hesitated. You're sure that's wise? Some of your people may still not trust me. Salira's expression softened. They will in time. But trust begins with those who choose it first. I choose to trust you. The next morning, the royal ship lifted off from the palace platform. The queen stood at the observation deck with Ryan beside her. Below them, the city of Valaris shone like a sea of silver light. Crowds gathered in the streets, waving flags as the ship rose higher. Ryan looked out the window. It's beautiful, Salira nodded. And it will stay that way because of what you did. He turned to her. Not just me. Everyone who fought beside us made it possible. Perhaps, she said. But history will remember the man who reminded us of what courage truly means. As the ship broke through the atmosphere, the view of space opened before them. Stars stretched across the dark sky like endless rivers of light. Ryan had seen space before, but this felt different. It felt alive with purpose. They arrived at the orbiting station where representatives from many worlds waited. As the Queen and Ryan entered the grand hall, every eye turned toward them. Whispers spread among the alien envoys about the human who had changed Valaris. The Queen took her place at the center and spoke with calm authority. To all gathered here, know this. Valaris stands not as a symbol of fear, but of hope. Let every world remember that unity is stronger than pride, and let them remember that courage knows no species. Ryan stood behind her, silent but proud. When she finished, the hall erupted in respectful applause. For the first time, the galaxy witnessed a human standing beside an alien ruler as an equal. After the meeting, the Queen and Ryan returned to the ship. She turned to him with a quiet smile. You have changed how they see us and how we see your kind. Ryan looked out at the stars. Maybe that's what peace really is, seeing each other clearly for the first time. When they returned to Valaris, the people celebrated their success. The Queen declared a new era of alliance with Earth. A monument was built in the palace garden, a statue of the Queen and Ryan standing together, side by side, not as ruler and subject, but as equals. On the night of its unveiling, Ryan stood before it with Kale and the royal family. The Queen joined him, her eyes reflecting the lantern light. You will leave soon back to your world, she said softly. Will you return? Ryan looked at her with a faint smile. If you ever need me, I'll come. Protectors never really leave the ones they've sworn to guard. The Queen placed her hand over her heart. Then may the stars guide you always, protector of Valaris. As the twin moons rose high, their light bathed the statue in a gentle glow. The city of Valaris stood united, its people stronger than ever. And somewhere in the heart of that shining world, the story of one human and one queen lived on, not as legend, but as proof that courage, kindness, and trust could bridge even the widest gulf between stars.